I wanted to show you guys how to look for leaks on a tire if you don't see any punctures in the tread or around the valve stem. Sometimes this can get a little challenging. Now, what's nice to have is a big container that you can submerge the whole wheel in, look for bubbles that way. That works great, but this will also work really well. All you need is a little spray bottle and some soapy water, just like I have here, even though I don't have much left. It still worked. I sprayed down the entire wheel. I actually did both of them while I'm at it, but I got one done just to make sure that this would take care of the problem before I took the video. But the one that's done is over there. It's all fixed. This is the next one that was leaking even more. And what we've got here is we've got a leak at the bead. This is where the bead of the tire meets the wheel. And this is common on older vehicles, especially if the tire's been on here for a long time. Tire starts to dry out a little bit, doesn't seal as well. So as you can see, we got a nice big bunch of bubbles here around the side. There's a little bit more here, a little bit more here, but most of them are right here by the wheel weight. Now, one thing about this wheel weight is it looks like it's kind of digging into the tire a little bit. That can also make these leaks worse, as you can see here. So when I fix this problem, I'm also going to remove this weight and just put stick-on weights on the rims so we don't have to deal with this problem anymore. I checked on the other side. There's none here. Everything looks good. There's no punctures. The only source of our leak, or leaks rather, were right here along the bead. So I'm going to break the tire down off the wheel. I'm going to clean the wheel up a little bit, and then I'm going to put plenty of grease or bead lube on the tire when I reinstall it. We're going to air it up as far as we can to seat the bead. That way it pushes everything nice and tight against the wheel. Then we're going to see if that fixes our leak. Now, before we can break the tire down off the wheel, we need to let the air out. One of the fastest ways to do this is to remove the valve stem core, but there's a little warning here. If you use your valve stem core tool, which basically looks like this, and you try to take the valve stem core out and you notice some resistance, stop. Find another way to let the air out of the tire, because if you do, what can happen is it can tear up the threads in this valve stem. Your best bet is just to leave it in there or replace it if you can get your hands on another one. In this case though, the owner did a good job of keeping his valve stem caps on, which keeps salt, debris, and water and all that out. So we're going to go ahead and take this out here. Let all the air out of the tire. Now comes the fun part. We get to break the tire down off of the wheel. We're going to use what they call a shovel here. This shovel wedges itself between the wheel and the tire. You push this pedal down on the machine over here, and air pressure basically draws the wedge in, as you'll see here. You want to make sure that you're not near the valve stem, as I kind of am. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this a little bit. That way, when the shovel pulls the tire off the wheel, it doesn't break off our tire pressure sensor here. I've had that happen multiple times. You want to make sure you check that. See how that works? Pretty cool. You want to rotate the tire about 180 degrees or so. Do the same thing to the other side. And now the front's done. Now we need to just spin it around and do the back side. Now we're ready to remove the tire from the wheel. Now there's a pedal on the machine here that spreads these clamps out. When I hit the pedal, see how they expand? Then when I press it again, they contract. So we're going to put the wheel on here, hit the pedal. Now the wheel is firmly in place. And then bring this arm around here, line it up, and take a tire iron, wedge it between the arm and the tire, just like so. Hit the pedal on the machine and spin the wheel around. And there you go, you're halfway done. Again, make sure that you're very careful to not damage the sensor while performing this job. There you go. Now these wheels have been painted, as you can see here. The paint's starting to kind of flake up, come up a little bit. And in fact, when you really start to push on it hard, you see that the stuff is completely just flaking off. And that's part of the reason why this wheel is leaking at the bead so badly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a little bit of sandpaper and a file, and I'm going to file the edge of this down so we get a nice smooth surface that isn't reliant on this paint which is coming off for the tire to seal on the wheel here, or on the bead. So I'm going to get that done, show you guys what it looks like once we're done here. But that's the cause of our leak right there, why it's leaking on the bead. It's not as bad on the upper lip here, as you can see, or the outside of the rim, but on the inside, it's really coming apart bad. Alright, so it doesn't look all that pretty, but at least I got the loose paint off here, and this is going to be a much better sealing surface for the tire on the wheel. I'm going to put the tire back on, use plenty of the bead grease here to make sure that there's a good fit, and the tire fits securely, and we're going to see if that fixes our leak. So now we got the bead of the tire lubricated, and we're going to put it back on the wheel. Same thing earlier, make sure that you're clear of the valve stem. One of the best ways to do this is to bring the valve stem around to approximately the 6 o'clock position, like so. Bring the arm around here. One lip of the tire goes above the bill, the other one goes beneath. Spin the wheel. Just like that, there you go. Stage 1. Stage 2 is pretty much the same. Again, watch for the tire pressure sensor. Sometimes it takes a little bit extra effort. There we go. Just like that. The tire is back on. Now all we have to do is inflate it, right here. Air it up. We're going to take this tire all the way up to 44 psi, which is the max pressure for seating the bead, and then we're going to check for any leaks before we return it to the manufacturer spec of 33 psi. I'll probably put 35 in it, but a couple extra pounds won't hurt. And that is a fix. As you can see, got the soapy water around the bead there, and no bubbles. I mean, sure, there's going to be like little stuff here from coming out of the little spray can, but nothing that indicates an active leak. So this is good to go. We have fixed the leak on this tire. Now all that's left is the balancing. You want to find the right size cone that fits the hub on the wheel here, as you can see. You slide that on the shaft. I'm going to put the wheel on. There we go. Pop the little center cap out. Tighten it up. Make sure it spins true. Looks good. Input the right measurements here on the machine. And then close the hood, give it a spin. And we hope to see low numbers on the balancer. And that's about right. 1 ounce on the outer and a 1/4 ounce on the inner. So that's pretty good. I used some brake clean here and a little paper towel. Cleaned up the area where the new weights are applied. Peel the adhesive cover off and then stick them on. Then you spin the wheel of fortune. And see how you did. Hope for zeros. And unlike the real Wheel of Fortune game, we got what we wanted, and that's all zeros. That means that the wheel is balanced correctly and ready to go. Now all that's left to do is to put the wheels back on the car, take it for a test drive and make sure it's smooth with no vibrations. And if you want, check for leaks one more time, but more than likely, you're good to go. Now I realize that if you guys have a leak like this on your wheel or tire, that not everyone has a tire changer, but most shops, if you just tell them you want the wheels rebalanced and the rims cleaned, they'll do it for a fairly good price. If you find that you have that type of leak, now you know what to look for and what needs to be done to fix it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, give it a thumbs up if you did, and I will see you next time with more car videos.